Namaste yogis, my name is Heather and welcome to your Vinyasa practice. Today we are going to take the journey to Bakasana, crow pose. It is a challenging posture and one that can be really intimidating, and I'm hoping that it doesn't feel that way for you after today's practice. And this is one that you can come back to over and over again to continue to build the muscle requirements and the integration of your understanding of how the shape shows up in your body, the coordination. So even if you don't make it into the shape today, worry and fret not. It's not really what the practice is all about. It's just a wonderful way for you to continue to work towards something and really kind of build that relationship of your trust and understanding within yourself. So with all that said, we'll go ahead and get started. First, before we begin, I'd like to offer up the suggestion that you go grab a couple of blocks, and you don't need to have them necessarily, and I will maybe cue to show how they can support you at one point in the journey today, but they are not a requirement. So if you don't have them, don't worry. It's not going to make or break the practice for you today at all. So once you get settled and you find the blocks or any other props that you would like to have, go ahead and find a seat on your mat. And a cross-legged Sukhasana like I'm in is a wonderful option, or you can find any other shape that helps you to feel comfortable and supported as we begin our practice with pranayama breath work. So once you get there, go ahead and settle in. Maybe fidget around a little bit and find your center, find your grounded shape that helps you feel secure and comfortable and ready to drop into your practice. And then when you're ready, if it's okay, close your eyes, or maybe just drop your gaze down to the floor so the eyelids are partially closing down any of the distractions that might be around you in the room. Take a few cleansing inhales and exhales once you arrive here. And then begin the process of allowing a sense of heaviness, of weightedness to come into the lower half of your body. So from the waist down, everywhere that you are connected to the mat, just let go. Let your bones hang heavy. Let the gentle pull of gravity support you. Feel that settling in. And in the practice, we often talk about that grounded nature, that feeling of being rooted or connected to the earth, to your mat. And the purpose of this groundedness is often an opportunity for us to invite some balance into our being by incorporating sort of a countermeasure. So let's do that now. And as you're thinking about the lower half of the body, feeling heavy, supported, grounded, and rooted, can you then begin to lighten and lift and invite a sense of airiness into the upper half of your body, your torso, your skull. It's as though with every inhale, you're filling up a little balloon that is your torso, your container for the breath. And that lightness, that lift is sort of pulling you away from that groundedness in the lower half. Like you've got a little string on the crown of your head and it's just lifting and lengthening and opening up and expanding the upper half of the body. And let's just take a minute now to centralize and really narrow our focus now that we've set up the container to the breath. Focus in on the inhales and the exhales. Just noticing the qualities and the sensations of the breath, where they travel. The expansion and contraction of the ribs, the rise rise and fall of the chest. Maybe the feeling of the breath coming in through the nasal cavities and the throat, exiting in the same way. And as you observe the breath, the physical qualities, can you start to drop in a little further, acknowledging this deep understanding of the breath in a perhaps little more esoteric way. The breath being this perfect balance, expansion and contraction, receiving and releasing. The constant, continuous motion that is connecting us to all living beings. Just allow the breath to create a sense of harmony, balance, equanimity. Three to five more breaths here. Just allowing the breath to center you in this moment. And then bring your palms to touch at heart center, pressing the thumbs into the chest. We'll begin our practice with the sound of Om. Inhale to prepare. Om. Take an inhale and an exhale. Blink your eyes open. Maybe keep your gaze nice and soft down at the top of your mat. And when you're ready, find your way onto your back, Shavasana shape. We don't often start our practice in this way, so just take a moment to kind of settle into it. Maybe adjust your ponytail like I'm doing here. Shoulder blades, kind of tucking them under the back body. And allow yourself to just come into this place of rest, just for a brief moment, if only to give you a sense of renewal and connection before we begin the work. Take an inhale through your nose and an open mouth exhale. On the inhale, stretch and reach your fingers back behind your head, coming into a full body stretch. Stretch and reach your toes and your fingers in opposite directions. Feel the arch of the low spine. Lengthen out, let it feel good. And then on the exhale, press your low back into the mat as you lift, a little core engagement here. Lift your feet up to the ceiling, lift your fingertips up to the ceiling. I've heard this posture described as dead bug. I'm not sure I like it, but it does actually describe what we're doing here quite well. Go ahead and flex and point your toes for just a moment. Maybe lift the fingers a little higher. You might feel the backs of the shoulders come off the mat, and then press them back down into the earth. On the inhale, flex and point. And then exhale, lower the arms, lower the toes back down to the mat. A little bit of core engagement. Stretch and reach, full body stretch. Lengthen out, maybe wiggle your fingers. And then exhale, come back into that dead bug shape. Flex through your toes, lift your fingers. Inhale, exhale. You might feel a slight little engagement of the hamstrings. Okay, lower it back down. And then this time, lengthen out, full body stretch. And then from here, start to tuck your tailbone just a little bit so your low spine can really be stamped down onto the mat. We're gonna start to float the toes and float the fingers, maybe lift the shoulders coming into a low boat pose. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lower down. Big extended low boat, really turning on the core. Find that stretch and reach, maybe reach from one finger to the other, lengthening out through the left fingers and then the right. And then from here, start to walk the feet in, stamp the soles of the feet onto the mat, bend the knees, and lift your tailbone up just a little bit so you can get your low spine really pressing down into the mat. Bring your arms out to a T, float your toes off, and bring your knees into your belly. We're gonna just drop the knees over to the left side, coming into a little supine action, feeling that stretch to the right side of the spine. Come back through center on your exhale. Take an inhale, exhale, and drop it over to the right side of the mat. Inhale, exhale, bring it back center. Inhale, exhale, drop it left. Exhale. Inhale, bring it center. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale, drop over to the right. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, knees come back through center. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, knees drop over to the left. Exhale. Hold here. Maybe look out to your right fingertips. Maybe take your left hand onto the outside of the right knee. Breathe into the right side of the body. And bring it back through center. Take an inhale. Exhale, drop the knees over to the right side of the mat. Maybe your gaze comes out to the left. Maybe your right hand comes on top of the outside of the left knee. Feel that opening through the left side of the body. And bring it back through center. Go ahead and wrap your forearms around your shins. Maybe grab for the opposite wrist and create a little compression here. Pull the knees into the belly. Maybe feel that little tightness, that little activation in the hip creases. You can kind of gently use the muscles of the hip flexors to kind of pull your tailbone down in a way as you bring and squeeze the knees up towards the collarbones. Take an inhale and an exhale. Take an inhale and an exhale. Release the wrist and let your knees kind of open up. And from here, take your hands on top of your shins and create a little bit of compression. Kind of pull the femurs into the rib cage. Flex through your toes and maybe point. And just really create that little kind of ball-like feeling, like you're in an open cannonball-like thing, I don't know. And flex and point the toes. Maybe roll out the ankles in one direction or the other. Go ahead and release. Drop your feet back down to the mat and bring your fingertips to the backs of the heels. So might want to walk your feet in a little bit if you can't make that connection. Ground down into the heels and gently press the hips up to the ceiling, coming into a soft bridge. So not like our full expression here, just a little soft opening of the hips, a little bit of activation of the glutes and the legs. Take an inhale and an exhale. Inhale, And exhale, lower it back down to the mat. Go ahead and take your knees back in towards your belly. And then this time take the hands back behind the thighs and begin to rock and roll up and down the length of the spine. So do that a few times, just really kind of finding the vertebrae, waking up the back line of the body, and then cross the ankles, roll over the shins, find your way into tabletop. Stacking shoulders over wrists, untucking the toes, and spreading the fingers out nice and wide. We're going to take a few rounds of cat and cow. Drop the belly, lift the tailbone up, and shine your heart. Inhale, and then exhale, puff up through the backs of the shoulder blades. Really press into the palms, tuck your tailbone, look back towards your belly button. Cat pose. Inhale, cow, drop the belly, shine the heart, lift the tailbone. Exhale, cat, round it in, curl everything up. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Take a few more rounds here on your own. Inviting breath, inviting movement, making this little moment entirely yours. You can flip your palms in the opposite direction so they're pointed back towards your towards your knees with your thumbs out wide. You can maybe circle your hips around, shake your little imaginary tail, and then go ahead and even everything out so you feel rounded out. And then begin the journey of walking your knees about halfway in. So halfway between where they are now and to your wrists. We're just going to take 2 rounds of cat and cow here in this kind of tightened up version of tabletop. So drop your belly, shine your heart in your cow shape. Just noticing how that really kind of creates a little bit more opening in some areas and some restriction in others. And can you kind of embrace that, embrace the difference? And then press through your palms, round through your spine, tuck your chin to your chest. Notice where you've got your stopping point, that little area where you can't go much further. And you need to kind of play around with finding a different opening, a different place to send the breath. Okay, drop the belly, shine the heart one more time. Cow. And exhale, cat. Go ahead and tuck your toes and sit back to your heels. We're going to spread the toes nice and wide coming into this toe pose. So you're going to feel that in the arches. See if you can energetically keep your ankles kind of connected, or maybe they're not touching, but they're parallel and not splaying out so you don't have that sickling action in the ankles. From here, interlace your fingers at your heart. I'm going to flip around so you can see me. And you're just going to flip your palms to face forward and round and tuck your chin, kind of like that cat shape in your spine. And then reach your palms up towards the ceiling and pull the arms back behind your ears as you shine your heart, lift your chest. Exhale, round it in, puff up through the backs of the shoulders. Inhale, open it up, lift and reach. Exhale, round it in, tuck your chin to your chest. Inhale, lift and reach. And last time, round it in and lift and reach and open. Release the fingers, let them come down to the mat, untuck the toes, and tap out your feet a little bit. Bring a little bit of life back into those feet. And then go ahead and sit back to your heels. From here, you're going to take your palms outside of your knees on the mat. Let your fingers be a little behind the knees. So you've got, if you look down, you look like an arc of a rainbow from your outside of your pinky on your right hand all the way over to the outside of the pinky on the left. You're going to untuck those toes and make sure that you press into the tops of the feet. Have your elbows nice and straight. And then begin to lift the knees and squeeze them up into your collarbone. Shift the shoulders over the wrists. Press down into those feet. Create that compression. Create the squeeze. We're going to be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Little core activation there. Go ahead and shake out your arms. And then when you're ready, hands come down to the mat, tuck your toes, and find your way into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet. Press through the pointer finger and the thumb. Spin the eyes of the elbows up to the ceiling. Pull the creases of the hip back. We're going to be here for 5 breaths. See if you can really dial it in. Find that integration of all the parts of the shape. Really focusing on that lengthening out of the spine. So if you need to have a deep bend in the knees to make that happen, by all means. There's no requirement of dropping those heels down to the mat. What we're really looking for is that nice long spine. Let your head hang heavy. Look back at your big toes. Pull your belly in. Pulling the navel towards the spine. Take an inhale and an exhale. We're going to take 3 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Ground down into your left foot. Stretch and reach your right foot up to the ceiling. It's 3-leg dog or 3-limb downward facing dog. Square off your shoulders and square off your hips. Lengthen out through the back line of the leg. So the crease of the knee, that little bend in the knee. See if you can focus on straightening out through that. Take an inhale and an exhale. Take an inhale. Exhale. Shift the weight forward. Bend through your right knee. Let it tap your right tricep. Really pull everything up and in. So you're really pulling that knee up into your armpit. And you're puffing up through the backs of the shoulders, creating that space so you can step your right foot outside of the mat, outside of your right hand. Drop your left knee down to the mat. Untuck your back toes, ground down through your left hand, and twist open to the right. Feel that sinking of the hips forward as you spin through your ribs. Look up at your right thumb. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. Go ahead and close it off so both of your shoulders come back down towards the mat. Right hand plants. Tuck your back toes. Straighten through both legs as you press the hips back with the palms. We're in this wide kind of modified pyramid shape. So really press down into your right toes. You can keep your back heel lifted. What I want you to focus on is pivoting through the hips, kind of swiveling through the hips so you're pulling that right hip back and left hip forward. And a long, flat spine. I know we often have a tendency to kind of round through the upper spine here. See if you can really think about that upward facing dog, so the cat and cow or upward facing dog action. So you've got kind of almost like a lift of the heart to lengthen out through the spine, finding a lot more engagement in that right hamstring. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Beautiful. Now start to bend into your right knee a lot. Shift the weight forward so you can get light on your back toes and step your left foot up to meet your right. We're going to come into Malasana. So shift the weight from side to side. I'm going to keep shifting my orientation as we're practicing so you can see what I'm doing. So in our Malasana, we really want to focus on getting that compression of the hips, but we also want to focus on lengthening out the spine. So you're kind of trying to focus on leaning back and lengthening out. Really press down into the feet so this is an active shape, okay? You're not just dumping down in here. Get up out of the hips and lengthen, okay? Deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, from here, from your Malasana, You're gonna really press into the feet so you can start to lift up, coming into what we'll call an active squat. So instead of a deep, low squat, we're coming up a little higher. We're kind of somewhere in between a goddess and a Malasana, okay? Arms are reaching out in front of you. Pull your knees open wide, sink your hips back, hug your belly in, straighten, bring your hands to touch and to heart center. Take a minute here, shift the weight from side to side, press through your glutes to press your hips to the top of the mat. With palms pressing into one another, lift them up to the ceiling. Really press into those palms so you can feel your shoulders activating. Lift up through your heart, look up at your fingers. Exhale, bring your hands back to heart center. We're going to invite the bend back into the knees, coming into an active squat shape. And from here, lift the heart, shine the heart. Feel that cow shape in the chest, lifting and opening. And you're going to keep that long, flat spine as you hinge from your torso. Reach your palms down to the mat or to blocks to bring it a little higher. And you're going to keep a little bend in the elbows, so there's going to be a little bit of buoyancy there. Okay, hold out here, lift the heart, lift the heart. Press through the palms, lift the heart. And then step the right foot back and the left foot back, coming into high plank pose. Press it back, downward facing dog. Take an inhale through your nose and an exhale out your mouth. Same thing on the left. Inhale, lift your left leg high, 3-limb down dog. Square off the shoulders, square off the hips. Find that length through the back of the knee. Everything is turned on. Keep your breath moving, flowing. And then go ahead and shift the weight forward as you bend your left knee, bringing it to the left tricep. Puff up through the backs of the shoulders. Lift, lift, lift. Press the mat away. Create the space to step your left foot outside of the left hand. From here, you're going to drop your left knee down. I'm going to turn to face the other way. And from here, ground down into your right palm. Twist open to the left. Spill your hips forward. Ground down into your right thumb so you can reach your right collarbone up towards the ceiling. That spinning action happening through the rib cage. Take one more inhale, one more exhale. Close it off. Let your left hand come down to the mat as your shoulders are square to the earth. Tuck your back toes and find that modified wide stance pyramid shape. Again, lengthen out your spine. Kind of like you've got that cow shape or upward facing dog in the torso and the chest. Find your left big toe and press it down firmly into the mat. Swivel your left hip back and your right hip forward. Find the length. It's like the collarbones are seeking, reaching towards the front, the top of your mat. Deep breath in, deep breath out. All right, you're gonna bend into your left knee as you shift the weight forward, get light onto your back toes and step your right foot up to meet your left, coming into your Malasana squat. Maybe shift the weight from side to side, finding a little bit more opening and lengthen the spine. And then we're gonna press firmly down into the feet so that we can lift up out into that active squat shape. Pull your knees out wide, sit the hips back. Feel the legs really turned on. Press down into your toes. Reach through the fingers. Okay, now we're going to straighten through the knees as we bring the hands into the heart center. Palms are pressed into one another. Squeeze through the glutes so you can press the hips forward. Reach your fingertips up to the ceiling. Straighten out through the elbows. Lift up, look up. Now exhale, bring your hands back into your heart as you bend back into that active squat shape. Keep your heart lifted. Press your thumbs into your chest to remind you to lift your heart. From here, we're going to hinge from the waist. Keep our heart forward. Lead with the heart. Plant your palms. Little bend in the elbows for that buoyancy. Lift your heart higher as you sit the hips back further. Step your left foot and then your right. High plank pose, downward facing dog. Take an inhale through your nose and an open mouth exhale. Inhale through your nose, open mouth exhale. Roll forward into high plank pose. Option to drop your knees here or press through the palms and really feel that broadening across the shoulder blades. Send your heels to the back. Drop your hips maybe just a little bit. One long line of energy from the heels to the crown of the head. A little bit of buoyancy in the elbows. Maybe shift the weight forward and back. Shift it forward onto the tippy toes and then press the heels back. One more time. And then from here, you're going to lower down, bend the elbows, lower down halfway, hug them into the rib cage, Chaturanga Dandasana, and then press back up to high plank. Drop your knees. Sit the hips back to the heels as you drop your forearms to the mat. Look forward, way out in front of you. That's where you're going. Grip through your fingers and pull your chest forward. Drop your belly. Come into low cobra. Press through the palms. Lift up through the heart. Untuck your toes and press the feet down into the mat to lift up into upward facing dog. And press it back. Downward facing dog. Take an inhale through your nose and an open mouth exhale. Inhale through your nose. Open mouth exhale. Okay, we're going to strip some things away, add some things on, simplify, and move up the pace just a little. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees. Look to the top of the mat. Step your right foot outside of your right hand, left foot outside of left hand. Come into your active squat shape. Palms press into one another. Knees are wide. Sit back in the hips. Straighten through the knees. Bring the hands to heart center. Press your hips forward. Press the palms up to the ceiling as you look up. Lift. Open. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bend through the knees. Sink the hips low. Back into the active squat. Press the thumbs into the chest. Lead with the heart. Lift and open. Plant your palms, a little bend in the elbows. Step one foot back, then the other, high plank. Lower down halfway, Chaturanga Dandasana. Press back up, high plank. Drop your knees, sit the hips back to the heels, drop the forearms. Pull the heart forward, come into upward facing dog. Press the hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, bend the knees. Step the left foot outside of left hand, right foot outside of right hand, active squat. Straighten, bring the hands to heart center. Inhale, press the palms to the ceiling, look up. Exhale, sink back into your active squat, hands to heart. Lead with the heart as you hinge from the hips. Step the left foot, then the right foot, high plank pose. Lower down halfway. Press back up to plank. Drop the knees. Drop the forearms. Pull it forward, upward facing, and press it back, downward facing. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, bend the knees. Step right foot, then left. Active squat. Straighten, bring the hands to heart. Inhale, look up, reach up. Exhale, sink it low. Inhale, hinge forward, lead with the heart, plant the palms, right foot, then left, high plank. Lower down, Chaturanga. Press back up. Drop the knees and the forearms. Pull it forward, upward facing. Press it back, downward facing. Last time through. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, bend the knees. Step left foot, then right. Active squat. Straighten hands to heart. Inhale, look up, reach up. Exhale, active squat. Inhale, hinge from the heart. Plant the palms. Right then left, high plank. Chaturanga. Back up to high plank. Drop the knees. Drop the forearms. Upward facing. And downward facing dog. Take an inhale. And an exhale. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. Now drop your knees for just a moment. Sit back to hero's pose. Take a little breather and locate your blocks. Now, I'm going to cue with the blocks for the first one, and then I'm going to remove them so you can see what it looks like to do it without the blocks. So we're going to have them on the medium setting. Actually, I'm sorry, the highest setting to begin. So put them where your hands would be if you're going to be doing a downward facing dog. Now we're going to take them outside of the mat for now because we're not going to put them there, but that's where they're going to go when we do. Everybody meets back in downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, take an inhale through your nose and an open mouth exhale. Inhale through your nose. Open mouth exhale. Inhale, right leg high, 3-limb dog. Lengthen out, square it off. And then on an exhale, bend your knee, hug it into your belly, create that compression. So really glue the top of your thigh to your belly. Pull your right heel into your glute and pull it in and tight. And then shift the weight forward so your shoulders are stacked over your wrists. Really puff up through the backs of the shoulder blades so you can create the space. Step your right foot up by your right thumb. Invite a deep bend into your left back knee. Now find your blocks, look at your blocks, place them down on the mat, just below the shoulders. So you're gonna take that nice deep bend in the left knee, and you're gonna come up into what is a double bent leg lunge. So both knees are deeply bent, kind of almost a 90 degree in the back. Now option here to lift your arms up, or keep your hands grounded on blocks, and keeping your hips exactly where they are, start to press through your back heel and straighten out through your left knee. You're not gonna always get it to be totally straight. Just press through the heel to get it as straight as possible. Now from here, you're gonna get light on the back toes, and you're gonna lead with your heart again. Create that compression, shift the weight forward, and float your back toes up. You can walk your blocks out a little bit. So you're in this warrior 3 shape with a bent right knee, deeply bent. Lift up through your heart. Now from here, you can bring your hands to heart center in this bent leg warrior 3, crouching warrior 3. And then you're gonna straighten through your right knee, lift up into warrior 3. Option to keep your hands on the blocks here. And with control, slowly step your left toes to the back of the mat. And you're gonna open up into your warrior 2. I'm gonna turn to face the other way. So you're gonna pivot through your hips. Back foot is parallel to the back of the mat. And sink into your warrior 2. Open up across the chest. Feel that broad opening. Squeezing the shoulder blades together on the back line of the body. Using the back foot, pressing into it to shift the weight into the right knee. Finding a deeper lunge. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Straighten through your right knee as you reach your right arm back and behind, coming into this pyramid shape, so reverse pyramid. Lengthen out through the right side of the body. Really press into the right big toes. Beautiful. Come back upright, bend into your right knee, cartwheel both hands down to the mat, low runner's lunge. Ground down through your left palm and twist up into the right. Reach your right arm up. Feel that pivoting through the rib cage. Both hands come down to the mat. Step your right foot back to meet your left. And now we're going to take a traditional vinyasa. Chaturanga, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Take an inhale through your nose, And an open mouth exhale. Same thing on the left. Inhale, lift your left leg high, 3-limb dog. Exhale, bend your left knee, hug it into your belly. Create that compression, so really glue the left thigh to the belly. Pull your left heel up and in, and then shift the weight forward. So you're gonna come onto your tippy toes on the right foot, puff up through the backs of the shoulders. Create that compression, press the mat away, and then step your left foot by your left toes. Locate your blocks. Highest setting underneath the shoulders, and then come into that double bent leg lunge. So 90-degree bend in the back foot. You can lift the arms up for a moment if you want to play around with that balance and stability. And then bring your hands back down to the blocks. Begin to straighten. So you're going to press through that back heel. I'm going to turn to face this way so you can see. And it is not necessary to totally find a straight knee. You're just pressing and straightening to the degree that you can. Really building strength into that right hip flexor. Beautiful. Now, walk your blocks up just a little bit. We're going to shift the weight forward, coming into that bent leg or crouching warrior 3. So same thing, the belly and the thigh on the left side are glued together. Deep bend in the knee. Lengthen out through the back line of the left leg, and then begin to lift your heart. So upward facing dog in your chest. Lead with the heart. And then you're going to straighten through that left knee, coming into a warrior 3 with the hands on the blocks. Lift up through your chest. Lengthen and open. Find the reach through the leg. Find the lift through the heart. Slowly with control, drop those right toes to the back of the mat. Open up to your warrior 2. Feel that grounding in the feet. So the feet are always the place where we begin the process. The toes are really pressing into the mat. The arches are lifted. Pull your left knee open. Open up through the chest. Feel broad across the collarbones. The back foot pressing into the mat to find more depth in the lunge. Take an inhale. Take an exhale. Now begin to straighten through your left knee. Right hand comes to the outside of the right thigh. Stretch and reach the left fingertips to the back of the mat. This is a side body stretch. Don't dump down into that right hip. Lift up and away. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Cartwheel both hands down to the mat. Bend through your left knee. Low runner's lunge. Ground down into your right palm. Twist open to the left. Feel the right heel stretching back. Feel the crown of the head reaching forward. Feel the rib cage opening up. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Plant your left palm. Step it back to high plank pose. And your Vinyasa, Chaturanga. Upward facing and downward facing. Take an inhale through your nose and an open mouth exhale. Inhale through your nose and open mouth exhale. Now you have the option here, blocks or no blocks. I'm going to show it without. Feel free to keep the blocks handy. On an inhale, lift your right leg high, 3-limb dog. Bend through your right knee, hug it into the belly. Shift the weight forward. Step the right foot by right thumb. Double bent leg lunge. Press through the back heel to straighten through the left knee. Bring your hands to heart center or the blocks. Shift your weight forward, lead with your heart. Crouching warrior 3. Straighten through the right knee, lift up to warrior 3 with hands to heart center or on the blocks. Slowly, with control, step your toes to the back of the mat. Open up to warrior 2. Find your depth of your lunge. Find the strength of the legs. Find the opening of the heart. So just like the start of our practice, heavy, grounded and rooted below, light, lifted and open above. One more breath. Straighten and reach it away. Find that high pyramid shape. Cartwheel the hands down, low runner's lunge, and twist it open. Right hand reaches up. Feel the length, feel the twist. You're moving in all directions. Plant your right palm, step your right foot back, high plank, and your Vinyasa, Chaturanga. Upward facing, downward facing. Take an inhale and an exhale. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, hug it into the belly. Shift the weight forward. Press the earth away. Left toes by left thumb. Open up, warrior two. Sink down and in. Find the strength, find the rootedness in the lower half of the body. Find the light opening, lift, expansion and growing in the upper torso. Take 2 more breaths here. Find the warrior two in your body. And then stretch and reach it away. Left hand reaches to the back of the mat. Lengthen out. Low runner's lunge. Twist it open to the left. Plant high plank. And your Vinyasa. From your downward facing dog, take an inhale through your nose and an open mouth exhale. Take an inhale and an exhale. Drop down to your knees. Sit back to your heels. Come into your hero's pose, Virasana. Take a breath. Take a moment to settle your energy. Taking a moment to build the trust. Allowing all the parts to settle, come back together. Before we add on and begin. From here, go ahead and just walk your way, the hands down to the mat, and come onto your belly. We're gonna take our palms outside of the mat, like 10 and 2 on the clock. Fingertips are tented, elbows are lifted. You might wanna walk your hands in a little bit more, like not too far out, like just outside the mat. Your elbows don't need to be directly up, just lift it a little bit. Press down into the hips, so you're really feeling the pelvis really grounded into the mat. Press into the tops of the feet, the toes. Squeeze your shoulder blades to touch. On an inhale, tuck your chin to your chest and lift up through your torso. And then on the exhale, shine your heart and lower it down. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Go ahead and play around with moving your hands closer or further out. Let's find the sweet spot. 2 more times. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. And inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Go ahead and place the palms outside of the mat with thumbs pointed outward. Shimmy the hips from side to side, just relieving any tension you might be holding in the low spine. Ground down into the hips and begin to float your torso up. Float your toes up, float your fingers up. Locust pose. Lift the heart. Lengthen out through the fingers. Squeeze the shoulder blades together on the back body. Feel the strength of the back body lifting you up and away. We're going to be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Let your left ear find the mat. Take a moment here to breathe. Feel your heart beating. See if you can invite a little bit of ease into this moment. a little counterbalance to the effort. And then bring your chin back to center. Place your palms down beside you on the mat, thumbs pointed outward. One more round of locust. If you want to add on for bow from locust, you can feel free, or you can just stay in the locust pose. Or you can stay in belly down shavasana, your choice. Take an inhale to prepare. On an exhale, lift and reach, lengthen out. Lift your heart. And then begin to bend into your knees. If you want to take it into bow, maybe reach for the outside of the ankles or the shins, and begin to kick and lift. Kick and lift. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Find the opening. Make this shape yours. Doesn't really matter what it looks like. Go for the sensation. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Bring your right ear to the mat. Make a little pillow with your palms. Shimmy the legs from the hips from side to side. Release out any tension you might be holding in the low spine. Take one more breath. And then press through the palms. Lift your torso up. Sit back to your heels, just so you can swing over to one hip or the other. Come onto your back body. We're going to take a couple of shapes here on our back in preparation for our big finish, which is Bakasana. Okay? So with the knees bent and the soles of the feet on the mat, take a minute here to lift your heart, lift your chest, lift your torso off the mat. You're going to float your toes coming into boat pose. Lower down, extend the legs, low boat pose. Inhale, lift, high boat, low. We're going to do this high to low for a count of 20. You take the pace and the rhythm that works in your body. We just really want to activate this core. We'll be here for 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Woo! That's a lot. Take a breath here. All right, from here, start to float your feet off the mat. You're going to take your arms off the mat, reach your fingers up towards the ceiling, and then begin to bend at the elbows, creating chaturanga arms, okay? And then you're going to start to create that compression. We've been working on compression all practice long. So create this little shelf where your triceps become the target for your knees, okay? So you're going to bring your knees in as much as you can, create that compression, and then press the triceps into the knees and the knees into the triceps. Flex your feet. So press, 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 press. And then begin to lift your head off the mat. This is a little bit of core work, but right now we're basically doing crow on our backs. So you'll be here for 5, 4, press, press, press. 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Take a full body stretch. Take an inhale and an exhale. Take an inhale and an exhale. Beautiful. Now go ahead and bend your knees, bring them back, hug them back into your body. Wrap your hands behind your thighs and rock and roll, coming upright. Cross your legs and come on to your Vinyasa, seated position here. So where we're going to go from here is we're going to set up for crow, and we're going to play around with the balance and the calibration of where the balance needs to go in the body, and it's going to be different for everybody. So as you can see, I have super long arms, and some people have shorter arms and longer legs and so on. So really that understanding of how to balance and position the weight in the body is an entirely personal thing, but we can start from a really strong foundation and invite that balance that is personal to you to be something that you learn over time and by playing around. From here, tuck your toes and press your way back into a standing shape at the back of the mat. Tadasana. Face your palms at the top. Run down into your feet and take 2 inhales and exhales here. Just inviting balance. Heavy feet, pressing firmly into the earth, lengthening out through the crown of the head and the spine. Strong and stable. On an inhale, circle, sweep the arms up, look up at your fingers, look up at your thumbs, and then exhale, sink the hips back, come into chair pose. Lift up through your heart. So again, we're having that upward facing dog in the chest and that strong, stable nature in the lower half of the body. So our feet are nice and firmly grounded. Our heels are planted into the earth. The outer edges of the feet are pressing in, lifting up through the heart. From here, shift the weight forward onto the ball mounts of the feet so the big toes are pressing down. Begin to lift your heels up off the mat. Hug your belly in, lift up through your heart. With control, slowly drop your hips to your heels. When you make it there, begin to let your hands come down to the mat. Now you can tent your fingertips, that's totally fine. You can also bring some blocks down if that helps you to feel a little bit more supported. From here, I want you to try, to the best of your ability, to bring your knees up into your armpits. So create that tiny little ball of compression. Keep your heels lifted. And from here, I want you to keep that little tiny cannonball shape. We've done this on our back. We've done this in a number of different ways. So trust that you can get here. From here, you're going to plant your palms down and shift the weight forward. So you're going to lean out. Now, I've heard this posture often cued by rounding through the upper spine. I want you to do something that's the opposite today. Get that upward facing dog going. Lift up through your chest. So compression, stable, tight, controlled in the lower extremities. Everything is pulled into the midline like a tight, tiny little ball. And then lift up through your chest and your heart. Now look out, way out in front of you. That's where you're going. It's like you're looking out over the horizon line. Now begin to shift the weight forward, okay? Create the shelf so the knees are stacked on top of the triceps. You're gonna feel that deep compression of the knees pulled way up high is gonna help you to feel really strong and stable here. Grip through the tips of your fingers. Maybe float one toe up. Keep your heart lifted, keep your gaze out in front of you. Maybe float the other toe up. Play around. And if you feel unstable, come back down. But stay in that compressed shape if you can. Create that compression, get used to being in this tight, tiny little ball. This is where the magic happens. And then keep playing. Keep journeying forward, venturing forward. If you don't like where you're stacked, where you're located, fix it. Come back down. Maybe move the feet out a little wider. Maybe create a little bit of a bigger spread of the fingers. But the goal here is to get the knees up as high as you can into those armpits to create that compression and then to open up the heart. And then once you're here, you can start the journey of rounding, but play around with the balance first. Get that opening in the upper chest to create the balance. And then you can play around with the different variations that you have here available to you. Rounding and curling in and looking down once you're strong and stable. Maybe straightening the arms. Go ahead and stop the video here. Play around on your own, and when you're ready, Turn it back on and come back to meet me. So once you've had your yogi playtime with Crow, with Bakasana, and maybe you've taken flight, maybe you haven't today, but hopefully you've learned a little something about the structure that you need in the body in order to take flight. And if you feel like you didn't learn anything at all, then that's okay too. Over time, you just have to trust the process, coming back to the mat over and over again and trying these things until one day they click and they happen. So from here, we're just gonna come down onto our backs. Go ahead and lower down and take a minute to let everything that happened or didn't happen just sort of float away. Let it go. Let it take flight and fly off. And be here in this moment with your tailbone pressing heavy into the mat, your heels pressing heavy into the mat. And when you're ready, we're gonna take a round of bridge pose followed by wheel. And if you'd prefer to take 2 rounds of bridge, or maybe just lay here in a supported bridge or a supported rest with the arms over the head, grabbing opposite elbows. Those are some wonderful options. So when you're ready for bridge pose, we're gonna press into the heels, squeeze through the glutes to lift the hips up towards the ceiling, walking the shoulder blades underneath us, maybe interlacing the fingers, and lifting the chest towards the chin. Lifting and opening. Again, that stability in the feet, that grounded, rooted nature, allowing you to open up and take flight in the upper body. We're using the strength of the back body to open up through the front body. Press the knees towards the top of the mat. Lift the chest towards the chin. 2 more breaths. Begin to lower. Start with the upper back, the middle back, and then drop your tailbone down. Heel toe the feet out so the knees can drop to center. Reach your arms back behind you, grab for opposite elbows. Let everything sink down and in. Two breaths. Release your elbows, walk your feet back underneath the hips. And then we're going to take another round of whatever is your opening of choosing. I'm going to cue for wheel, but if that is not for you today, you do you. This is your practice. So first we're going to start by taking the palms and facing them towards the ceiling like we're pressing into the ceiling. And then we're just going to take the hands, reach them back behind our head to the top of the mat, and then begin to walk the fingers in until the thumbs are basically kind of by the ears. And then you're going to press the palms down a lot. I have to move my ponytail out of the way. Press the soles of the feet down a lot. Find that really grounded nature in all of those things. The feet and the hands are really the key here, especially the legs, okay? So you're gonna start to lift the hips up, press through the feet to lift the hips, press through the palms to press the mat away. Lift up and away. Press the chest towards the top of the mat. Maybe walk your feet in and begin to open up. That grounded nature in the hands and the feet to find airy opening, expansion through the chest. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower it down, top of the head, back of the neck, shoulders. And lastly, the tailbone. Walk your feet out, knock your knees in, grab for opposite elbows, and breathe. Let everything settle. Let everything come back together. Slowly recollecting all of that energy. Beautiful. From here, walk your feet back underneath your hips. And then just take your left ankle on top of your right thigh, just above the knee. Begin to float your right toes up, interlace the fingers behind the right leg. It's reclined pigeon. Flex through your toes. Gently pulling the knee, your right knee into the chest. Feeling that opening through the hip. Let your breath start to be soft. Letting go of the effort. One more breath here. Let go of the grip of the fingers and bring your arms out to a T beside you on the mat. Keep that figure 4 shape in the legs and just slowly let your left foot drop over to the right side of the mat. Coming into this supine figure 4 variation. Look out over to the left side of your mat. If you like, you can stretch and reach your left fingertips back behind your head, so you've got kind of that long left side body stretch. And breathe into it. Two more breaths. All right, bring your arms back out to a T and roll back onto your back body. Swap out your legs. Bring your right ankle on top of your left thigh. Begin to float your left toes up and interlace the fingers behind the left leg. And give it a gentle coaxing, bringing your left knee closer and closer to your left collarbones and opening up that right hip. Breathe into it. Just allowing in this moment the sense of balance and equanimity to really unfold, knowing that the effort, the work is behind you, and the only thing left is to move into softness. One more breath. Let go of the grip. Let your left toes land. Bring your arms out to a T and drop your right foot over to the left side. Finding that figure 4 supine twist. Option to stretch and reach your right arm back behind your head. Feeling that big right side body opening. Sending your breath into your right hip. arm back out to a T so you can find your way back onto your back, and then unravel the legs. Find your way into happy baby. Flex through the feet. Grab for the inner arches or the outer blades of the feet and gently pull the knees in. Maybe straightening one leg at a time. Giving yourself a little gentle stretch. You can rock from side to side. And then when you're ready, one last little bit of compression. Wrap your forearms around your shins and create that little tight, tiny little ball. Maybe bring your forehead up to your knees. Squeeze everything into the midline. And then big opening, big release. Shavasana. Lay here on the mat for as long as you like. Just allowing the practice to really resonate. I'm going to leave you here in this moment, and I hope that you take a long, sweet, slow Shavasana. It's been an honor to practice with you. Thank you for being here with me. Peace.